Hello, everyone. It's me, Sowemimo Daniel, and I present to you the Atmosphere brought to you by the Pond Collective. Yes, I'm sure you're used to KD. Yeah, KD or Tarabo. KD has been a bit under the weather. So I'm taking his place for today, and yeah, trust me, it's going to be fun. So, yeah, I have a very special guest. Yeah, I've read a lot about this guy from when I was in secondary school. And yeah, he's here, and I present to you Oluwole Omofemi. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are
Yeah, I'm
you?
so happy. I'm so happy because we reached out to you like in a very short time, and you responded, and you were very, very awesome to speak with. Like, I'm so, I don't even know what to say. So, how's the trip? How's the trip?
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine, and I'm happy to be with you guys this night. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great privilege for me to be among you guys and seeing some of these amazing things that you guys are doing. So I give you.
And the traffic. I know
Yeah,
you are not used to Lagos
I'm
traffic.
not used to Lagos. I live
Yeah.
in Ibadan, and I only come to Lagos for business. So
And the heat.
something.
Yeah, so firstly, I read a lot about you. Like when I'm still a young artist, I'm still emerging, and when I started emerging, like coming out, and I started doing drawings, and one artist I used to look at then was Akinola Ebenezer. And when I checked how he worked, I checked how he explored the use of oil medium, the techniques he used, like the exhibitions he did, and I was a huge fan of. I am still a huge fan of Akinola Ebenezer, and over the years, I saw you did like a training under him, and I really want to know how was Mr. Akinola Ebenezer affected you as an artist, your growth as an artist.
Well, thank you very much for this question.
Welcome.
Before I met Mr. Akinla Ebenezer,
Yeah.
I once have a studio along the road in Ibadan
Yeah.
where I normally display some of my artistic work. So at the point, I went to one of my artist friend in Ibadan. So I saw a catalog of Mr. Akinla Ebenezer in his place, and I was just like, wow, who is this wizard? Who is this artist? I would like to meet him, you know. So fortunately, 2 weeks later, Miss Ebiza came and visited this guy, and I was just like, oh, this is the opportunity that I've been waiting for. This is the person I want to meet because each time I see his painting, I always have this kind of feeling of, like a kind of European style of painting, which is totally
Yes.
different from,
Yes.
what I personally am used to. So I took that opportunity. I went to his place. I was just like, oh, I like what you're doing, and I would like to know more from this. So he took me in, started going to his place. Got the influence from him as
Yeah.
well. So at a point, I was trying to look for my voice. I was trying to look for searching within myself, looking for the true me. So I said to myself, I want anytime they call Ebenezer Akinola, I always want him to stand alone. And when they call Omofemi, I want to stand also in my lane. But I got the influence from him as well and other artists as well. So that was how the whole thing started. So I started looking in within myself, looking for my true identity, looking for my true calling of being an artist. So these are part of the things that helped me to shape me to who I am today. So it was really, really long
That's
journey.
beautiful. And do you get to share how you grew up, like you growing up, not even you being an artist, like you're bringing up your family. the school
Well,
education.
growing up in Ibadan, in the interior part of Ibadan,
Yeah.
is really challenging for any child or daughter raised in that kind of environment. I grew up with my grandfather.
Mm.
It was my grandfather who took me in when my mom didn't even care about what I was doing. My father was just out there. So my grandfather was the one who helped me to become who I am today. And growing up in Ibadan was I didn't really enjoy this. Uh, should I say kind of parental love or this
Care.
care from the family? Because I was just like it was just me alone. My mom was trying. My dad was also far away, but it was just my grandfather that was trying to make sure that things were actually working right with me. So for me, then, because of the kind of love and the passion that I have for art, I had to go through a lot of things just to raise money to buy drawing boards, sketch
Mm.
pad, pencil. And if I could recall, I work most of this time at restaurants working for people.
Wow.
I also work at the car wash, just to raise some little cash. And I discovered that most of the money that my mom usually gives me when I'm going to school, I think they usually give me 20 naira then. So I save from that 20 naira, like 10 naira from it just to
Mm.
save and get myself pencil, sketch pen, and some of these things just to pursue my artistic career. So it was really, really, really challenging and difficult for me growing up in the interior part of Ibadan because when I started all these things, none of my family member were, not even most of my friends, family member were just like, this guy, you're just wasting your time. You are doing the wrong thing.
Mm.
And there's this thing that they normally say in Yoruba that Oluya, you don't have like Oluya means normally Oluya is used for a kind of photographer.
Photographer. Yeah.
But they say Oluya like it kind of abuse like Oluya ne or waste time. So but all these things they were throwing at me, I never for once allow all this talk, to put me down, to distract me.
Mm.
Because I remember some of the things I was telling myself when I was young. I said, no matter what, I'm not going to work on it. I'm not going to work for anybody in life. I'm just going to work for myself.
Mm.
And these are some of the things that really helped me to become who I am today.
Mm. And I think I can relate because growing up, I grew up from a privileged family. Like my father was there, everything was there. Like my father wanted me to be an engineer, but he was still putting things in place for me to like explore and you not having that privilege. How I know I can feel it, but how feel the euphoria like you saving money and buying sketch pads, art materials from the little you had, and me because I know it was at like once I say dad I want this, you get I have it. But how was it saving and you now drawing? How was the feeling like you seeing your drawing, seeing something come out from your savings, your little savings?
So, there's what I personally call a definition of purpose. I said to myself from the beginning that I was going to be an artist, that no matter what it takes, if I had the opportunity to come to this world 100 times, I will always remain an artist. That's just for me because a lot of people call it pride, ego, but I call it, for me, it's just like value, respect for someone like me.
Mm.
And saving money because I already had that determination, the desire to be, and my from my tender age,
Mm.
uh the vision is so clear to me. I
Mm.
knew from the beginning what I want. Not I never allow situation or circumstances to change me. I knew even when things were very difficult for me that I find it difficult to even feed myself. Like things were very rough that I had to like beg for food, those all kind of things. Like people offering me work, come and work for me. I do little things, just
Yeah.
like work at the car wash, at the restaurant, help even them to wash plate and some of this just to raise money and continue with my artistic career. So I never allow some of other things to discourage me and distract me. But what I said to myself then was that I don't just want to be an ordinary artist. I
Mm.
want to be one of the richest artists, not only in Nigeria, in Africa. I want to have money. I want to live a good life, and I'm going to make a good living from this art. Those are the things that I
Yeah.
said to myself years ago. And to God be the glory.
Yeah.
God has been faithful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to. There's this question I've always wanted to ask, and personally I ask artists I meet, both we emerging artists like me and both built artists that I get the privilege to meet. I like asking them what's their work process like. So what's your work creative process like? Your thought process? How do you begin your work?
Well, for me, the first thing I do as an artist is to first have a kind of idea of what I want. That is the most important thing to me. Have I need to first conceive the idea that this is what I want to paint. Then after doing that, I try to look for a model that I personally believe that can interpret what I have in mind. So I have a lot of friends around me. Some of my models are my friends, people in my studio, people in my neighborhood, people I grew up with.
Mm.
So the first thing I do is just to get the idea and I look for people that can help me interpret it in a way that I want. So from there, I'll go, go to my neighborhood, try to hang out with some of these people, try to see them, and in our conversation,
Yeah.
I might pick that, oh, this person can actually give me the character, the character or the
Yeah.
kind of mood or the kind of feeling that I want my painting to look like. So from there, I will invite them to my studio, talk to them about what I want to do,
Mm.
and takes probably hundreds of pictures, from different
Do
angles.
you use a DSLR camera?
I have a camera. I
Okay.
use a camera to take a picture. And one of the most important things to me as an artist is not about how beautiful the works looks or how detailed. For me is basically as an artist is to capture the essence of every of my subject, which is one of it. So if I'm able to register that, I think for me, I'm done.
Mm.
So which is one of the most important thing in every of my painting, capturing the essence of my subject. So after taking the pictures and having all these picture, then I will now sit down carefully and select the best that I think that resonates with what I have in mind.
Yeah.
And then I'll start drawing, start building up a story from there, from what probably and some of my stories are mainly my personal experience and also some of the stories that probably events that happened to people that are very close to me
Yeah.
or my family experience. So basically, some of my stories are basically things that has actually evolved
Yeah. In
around
your
me.
environment.
Yes, in my
Yeah.
environment. So that is it.
That's beautiful. And I know your primary medium is oil paints. Like I love your oil works. Like I so much love it. And your works have somehow evolved. It has grown, and when I mean grown, you've gone further. You've gone more bolder in terms of experimentation. Can do you care to share more on that in terms of experimentation?
Well, for me as an artist, uh, I'm this kind who always want to try something new.
Mm.
I'm not afraid to try something new. Either I fail or I succeed. I always want to try something new. And whatever I try, I always want my truth to be revealed in that.
Mm.
And for me, like I tell people, you can't really define if you can't really differentiate if an artwork is good or bad.
Yeah.
Every artwork is good. It's just a kind of perception. In art, you have people who paint realism, hyperrealism. They are fantastic painters. You have people who lay impression, so they are also fun. So it's just a kind of interpretation, and people interpret things differently. Now I'm with some of my friends and seeing hyperrealism, we just wow, these guys are amazing. And that does not mean I'm going to go back to Ibadan and start painting realism. That is not for me. It's good. I love it, but for someone like me, it does not really interest me. But I love it when I say, "Ah, wow!" So that is, So as an artist, everyone must, understand their language.
Mm.
Yeah, you
Language.
must understand where your language that you're speaking. Like Yoruba now, nobody can, cheat me when someone is speaking Yoruba to me. But if you are speaking one Chinese language now, I find it very difficult to even interpret and even. But as far as you are speaking Yoruba, which I understand very well, you can't cheat me. You can't rob me with it now. But if you are speaking Chinese or speaking English now, I'm putting one big grammar now. I might start to like, probably bring out my phone to start reading. So I think for every artist, you must understand your language. And when you understand it, you can interpret it perfectly. For me, I think one of the things that helped me is that I understood and I know what I want to do.
Mm.
So that is just, these are some of the things that has really helped me.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I have this notion that in as much as a lot of people might be self-taught, we all draw influences from people. Yeah, we all. It might be an author. It might even be a lady that hawks. We draw inspirations. Different happenings affect our works, and we as artists, I feel we are very different from the other people. Why we've grown, we know that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, so I have to do it like this, and in a specific way, and we have to tell our truth. I have to have something to say. Get even if you want to paint for fun. Even a lot of artists don't really have a strong narrative to their works, but they always have something to say. And collectively, everything is built by influences. What can you say is your greatest influence in your
Well,
works? It might be in your studio practice too.
I think some of, one of these questions was asked while I was in London for my first solo exhibition with signatures. And this white man came to me and he said, "Hey, I want to ask a question." I said, "Go on." He said, "Why do you paint black people?"
Hmm.
And I said, "Because I live in a black community and I grew up, every of my family are black people. So what do you expect me to paint? What do you expect me to paint?" That I live in a black community and I grew up with them, and these are the people that helped me to become who I am. And at the point, another person asked, he said, uh, you most of your paintings are basically about woman hair fashion and stuff like that." And I said to them, I said, for me, there is this symbolic uh, meaning that for me personally that I connected with, I connect with the hair, which signifies a kind of antenna that connects the blacks to the spiritual realm. I said, wow. I said, yeah. I said, have you ever? I said, if you as a white man, and I put one of my friends very close to you, and I bring out a comb now for you guys to comb your hair. I said, no matter how you, this white man, combs your hair, it will always fall down.
Yes.
That a black man, it was so that's for me. We believe in the Yoruba that every information, every good things come from Orun, which is the heaven.
Yes, heaven.
So, and if anything is coming from the heaven, the first place that we got in contact with is your hair. So if anything is coming, it comes through your hair before it goes to all part of the body. So if God drops any information, The first person, just remember before this all this smartphone came in those days we always have all this phone with this big antenna. So for me, here
Yes.
has always been a kind of antenna that helps
Mm,
one to connect with the spiritual realm. So these are some
mm,
of the narratives about my work and what my work is all about. But basically,
mm,
I paint what I paint. I want a painting that reflects me. I want a painting
yeah.
that reflects who I represent,
Mm.
what I want people to say about me.
Wow, beautiful. Like I have, like I said, I grew when I was starting up as an artist. I grew up looking at your works. I basically saw your works evolved when you were painting solace, indoor scenes,
There are
like
children.
children,
Yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and semi-nude women. I
Mm-hmm,
see,
mm-hmm,
yes,
mm-hmm,
some were nude, some were like partly covered with white cloth,
mm-hmm,
and I saw them evolved. And there was a part where I started seeing tribal marks. Now,
mm-hmm.
I don't know how tribal marks were treated in, like, people with tribal marks. I don't know how they were treated in the past. But I'm a Gen Z guy. But in this generation, we see people as people with tribal marks. We see them as, don't go near them, or can't you see his face? Like, I attended a big school, fine school, nice private school that had a lot of students come in. And there was this guy, we used to call him Wally. Yeah. So there was this guy, Wally. I don't want to mention his full name. So Wally had this 1, 2, 3, like it was really huge. And I don't know if he's into arts now, but as then it was fully, like, we used to draw together. We used to mold, get clay, then in Ikorodu. And a lot of people ran away from this guy because he had a tribal mark. And you you infuse it in your work in a beautiful manner, like it's a tattoo, like like it's so beautifully painted. Now I know you are, technically your technical prowess is very high, but but how are you, what notion do you tend to, like, do you pass through those paintings, like, what do you want to say with the tribal marks beautifully painted on the faces of on your models?
Oh, thank you.
Mm,
Before the contact of the black or the white or the Europeans,
yeah.
we blacks, as our ways, our culture, our originality.
Mm,
Even we have probably one of the way of keeping our skin, because our skin in Africa don't even get crack. We have this natural ointment like adiago, cocoa butter. These are some
yes.
of the things our forefathers, our mothers are using, to prevent their skin from cracking. And when you go further, you talk about the issue of identity. In Yoruba is a very big race where you have a lot of people in Yoruba community.
Yes.
You have the Ondo, you have the Abeokuta, you have all kind of
Yes. Different tribes
tribes
and
in
traditions, yeah.
tradition in Yoruba. And one of the best way that these people differentiate themselves from each other is one of them is through the idea of tribal marks,
Mm,
which play a very significance in their culture and the issue of identity. So
mm,
for me, I think with this Western way of doing things, a lot of all these cultural vibe has been, one way or the other. Because we left what we are doing,
yeah.
and we want to start embracing some of this European way of doing things. So some of this our culture are beginning to lost. So for me as an artist, I said to myself, I'm from Africa.
Yeah.
Some of my grandmother has a tribal mark, though my grandfather only has probably one. So I
Yeah.
said to myself, this is who we are in Africa. This is what we represent.
Mm.
We cannot just allow, because some of this generation, let me say generation now, like some of these kids that are born in probably 90s, 2000 to this day, most
Yeah.
of them don't have tribal mark. And if probably you get married and your wife just goes out and puts a mark on your baby, and the whole thing will like, oh, what are you
Yes.
doing? Do you want to?
Yes.
So these
Yes.
are some of the things that is love forgotten in our society now. So for me as an
Mm.
artist, I'm trying to advocate that this thing is not a bad thing. It's
Mm.
just a kind of issue of identity to recognize and understand who we are.
Mm. I there's one word I like to use. There's one word I like to use. I call it preservation. And as an artist, how do you want to preserve your stories? When I mean your stories, how you collectively build. You said from you get models that you relate to, the tribal marks, your tradition, and you mentioned one strong word there, identity, bringing it together. How do you when I mean preserve, like how do you want to preserve those stories, like for generations to come?
Well, I think the best way, I think I could preserve some of these
Yeah,
stories is to actually put them on canvas,
yeah,
because some of these stories, some of this painting will even last longer. Even when I'm gone, they will still
yeah,
be there.
yeah.
There will still be a kind of reference. So I think one of the
Yes.
best way is by telling my stories on the canvas
Mm.
in a better way.
Yeah, that's there's no better answer than that. Yes, and recently you painted the queen. You
Okay.
painted the queen. And it was such a build. Like when I saw it, I screamed. I'm like, wow! Like he painted the queen. And so sad, very sad. I think few months or few weeks she died.
Yeah.
But how was it painting the queen? Like how did you just pull through? How did he call you? And just take us
Okay.
through that.
Well, for someone like me,
Mm.
uh, let me say, I'm a very shy guy. Like what I tell myself, like I normally say, is that I don't want to be known. I don't want to be popular, because immediately you are popular, your life is taken away from you. You can't live a normal life that every normal person is living. So you have to be very careful.
Basically a celebrity,
Yeah. So
yeah.
I'm always trying to avoid anything that puts
Yeah.
me out there. Like people say, this is this guy. So for me, I think what one of the things that really led to the me painting the queen was, there's this Tatler magazine in London.
Mm.
So it was time for them to celebrate the platinum jubilee of the queen,
Yeah.
and they were actually looking for a black artist to paint. And me, JJ, I was just, yeah, in Ibadan doing
Yes.
my own thing innocently without even paying anybody to put me there. I was just there. So they contact my gallery in London, and they said we are looking at some artists, and my name is there, other people is there. And they went back to have a meeting with the whole thing, and they spoke to my guy that, because it was during that time that some of my works went to the secondary market, which is the
Mm.
auction
The
that did very
auction, yeah.
well. And a lot of people, a lot of attention was on me, a lot of attention was
Mm.
even on Nigerian artists as well. So the recognition, like, oh, where is this guy from? From Nigeria, from Ibadan. So they came back to me and said, Omofemi, you have been chosen to paint it. I was just like painting the queen.
Mm.
Don't you see me? So I went
Like
back and I was just like, painting the queen. So for me, everything still looks normal
yeah.
to me. I never thought it was something big. But people that heard about the whole thing was just like, you want to paint the queen? I said, it's normal for me to paint the queen. Now, is there anything? Is there any big thing there? They said, you don't know who you are painting. This will change your life. This will change your history.
Yes.
This will change your generation. I said, nothing big now, just for me to paint the queen and just give them this thing. So I went, we discussed with my gallery, and we discussed about the project. They asked me to go and think and come up with a kind of idea and which of the queen's picture, because the queen was here then, so we could not even have access to her and take some picture. So we had to like go to the internet and look for picture. So for me, I was actually looking at the picture. I want a picture that capture the essence of the queen, which for me, I've always seen the queen as someone who has conquered life, who had more than what life can offer. The queen has everything that she needs, and she's the longest reigning monarch in the history of United Kingdom. So she has everything. So I was looking for a picture that can actually capture that, that can actually capture all these stories that I have in mind. So I came up with that picture when she was young. So when this whole idea came, the first person I went to was to go and meet my grandfather and ask my grandfather, Queen Baba. He asked me to paint Queen. What do you know about the Queen? And my grandfather is like 100 years now, 98 to 100 years. So he was the first person I went to. I had a discussion with him about the Queen's project, and I said, Baba, what do you know about the Queen? I said, Baba has grown old now, so he could not actually give me, the details that I needed. So he said, the Queen, he came to your state, he passed through Queen Cinema. There's a street very close to our place in Dugbe that is named Queen Elizabeth Road. So my grandfather saw the Queen while she was passing. So he said that. So the next thing I did was to go online, start looking at videos of the queens, getting video and just get a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
So source for some of these pictures. So I went online and I printed like hundreds of the queens pictures. I pasted some all over my studio. I was just looking at it that this woman, I'm going to paint you. This one, I'm going to paint you. No matter what, I've never met you, but I'm going to paint you. So and I prayed to God. I said, God, just help me. And I know this will affect me, it will affect my country, it will affect my generation. Just help me. I know I can't do this alone, but and I prayed to God, and so what I did was when I got home, I told my wife about the whole thing that they want me to paint the queen, but my wife could not really, reason along like the way I want, but she was just like, I felt you're queen. So what I did was to exclude myself for like 6 weeks in a separate room. I was sleeping alone. So I had to like print hundreds of these queen's picture. I was sleeping with the picture because at the point I want the queen to appear to me in a real life. So if I'm eating, I'm imagining the queen in front of me.
Yeah.
So if anything I'm doing during that time was just like the queen is just in front of me. At the point I was eating queen, I was drinking queen, I was doing everything queen. So I slept in a separate room for like 6 weeks when I started the project. So I started the whole thing, and there was a time that I even slept in the studio. At the point, because I discovered that when I was painting that, I was actually painting my emotions during that time. So after the whole thing, I just felt that the painting is okay for me, because at the end I saw that I was able to paint my truth, which I'm very honest to. I said it is over, and that was when I pen my signature, and that was it. So I painted it, and the whole thing left. Yeah. So they took the painting, to London. We had the show in Sotheby's and stuff like that. At the point, I was also invited to Buckingham Palace by King Charles.
Wow.
So I met with King Charles. He asked me about the thought process, how did I started.
Wow.
I gave him, and he said, wow, this is incredible, that I would love to see more of your work. And we shook hands, and that was how the whole thing. So when I came back, a lot of people were still saying, this thing is not normal. I said, oh, normal. This is not normal. I said, oh, normal. I said, it's normal for me to go to Buckingham. And they were telling me that they've been in UK for the past 30 years, 40 years. They've never even had the access to enter Buckingham Palace. And me from interior part of Ibadan, Nigeria, now go and meet King Charles. I said, everything is normal. They said, stop saying it's normal. This is not normal. That we've been doing that. So, but glory be to God for everything. Yes, glory be to God for what God has been doing in my life. And glory be to God for what God is doing in Nigerian art. So I'm happy that, because the narrative has changed completely.
Yes.
In those days, you have to attain certain age before certain things can be achieved in your life. But now the whole thing is scattered. Yes. So everything is possible. Now a young guy can just come up and say, I want this, and it's achievable.
Yes.
And I remember when I started, I said, God, if I want a painting to be able to buy me a car. And God answered the prayer. A painting can actually buy me a car. And I said that at the point I also challenged God. I said, God, this thing I also want more. I don't want, honestly, I want more. And he said, what do you want? I said, I want the painting to be able to buy me a house. And everything is possible. Everything is
Yes,
possible.
it
So,
is.
so that is just it.
It is, and you breaking into the secondary markets is such a good thing because we are at an age where technical prowess is not really the thing, and a lot of contemporary paintings are coming in. So how are you like how did you feel breaking into the secondary market with a technical, a well painted image?
Well, I'm happy that this kind of thing is happening in our time because some of the things that has really involved around me has not really for me, but has given a lot of people hope.
Yeah.
A lot of people have lost hope, you know,
Yeah.
start getting the hope back now. So a lot of people believe that they could not even survive with that. They have started doing well now. So having things like this happening, God is just using me. It's not only for me, but it's just for other people in Nigeria. And in those days, I believe technically we have the best artists in Nigeria. And you know, I think we are long overdue when it comes to art generally because Ghana is taking over, other parties taking over. But with this auction of a thing, with this queen of a thing, a lot of art, a lot of collectors are looking more now into Nigeria. So in those days, nobody's, you know, you can't just wake up and say, I want to sell my work for $1,000. Who born you? They will ask you now, when did you started art now? We that we've been painting before your father was born, your mother or something. How do you do it? But now a young guy can just stand up now and say, I want to sell my painting because the whole thing is out there now.
Yes.
So you have everything in your right to write your stories.
Now.
So you can write your story that this is what I want, and everything now is very achievable. Anything you just once you can just take it, you can achieve it. So everything is so the door is open for everybody to come in and get whatever they want.
Like my grandpa says, he says, "Eni tó bá domi sílẹ̀ á tẹ̀lé tútù." So it's one word. Like it's the translation is if you pour water on the floor, you step on a wet surface. So and it's something I've stuck with all my life. So you've gone through that hard process, that labor, and you've been able to triumph, and I'm really happy. I'm really happy. And yes, we are going to continue our discussion after this podcast. Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
It's like I learned a lot in such short time, and me seeing your works and being able to like interview you in person. So yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So yeah, it's me, Sowemimo Daniel. Like I said, kid is under the weather, he's a bit under the weather, and he's returning. I'm sure kid is hearing me. I don't know where he is, but I'm sure he's hearing me. And yeah, it's the end.